He has struggled against Hap. If you look overall, he struggled. The last couple of years, he struggled. So I decided to put Ref in there and do it a little bit different.
It's 2 straight days that he's not in the lineup. Do you feel a need to talk to him about anything, or you think he understands the situation that's going on?
We'll talk at some point. But it's not something that I'm planning not playing him. It's just, he struggled against Hap. And we have not had success against Hap, so I'm trying something a little bit different.
He had that 1 home run since coming off the DL, but all season long he has not hit particularly well. Do you see if he doesn't turn it around that he may in the future need to sit out a couple more games?
I'm not really thinking about that now. You try to take it day by day in our business. You don't try to get too far ahead or look too far in the past. But obviously, production is important to stay in the lineup.
What do you think it is about that matchup? It's pretty unusual for a left-handed pitcher to have that much success against Alex.
I have some thoughts in my head. I don't really care to share them with you in a sense, because then other people might try to do certain things. But just for whatever reason, he has not hit him.
Based on what you saw from Hap last time, obviously pitched very well against you last time out. What adjustments can your team make to try to have more success?
Well, I think when you get pitches to hit, you better hit him off them. You can't do a lot necessarily running on him being left-handed, and he's fairly quick to the plate, and Russell throws fairly well, so you got to string hits together. But I think he uses his fastball really well, his slider well, and I think you have to hit those.
Joe, what would be the case to use Alex the same way as you did last year, like right now?
I'm not sure what you're saying.
Like he hasn't hit for about half a year after work on 75 games. Why would you run him out there every day?
Well, if I don't play him, then everyone's saying that he's done, and I don't necessarily think that. I still think that he can be productive for us, but I chose to give him a day off yesterday. He had played basically 6 days in a row, and Hap has been a tough matchup for him, so I chose to give today off. So. You make the lineup every day, and you try to, make some adjustments when you feel you need to.
I guess would he be helped though by not playing? If he played 4 or 5 times a week and had more rest because he's 41.
I don't know. I don't think that he had played too many days in a row. In the first 40 games or whatever before he got hurt. So, but that's something that we've looked at, trying to give him a little bit more rest.
So is it tough to separate what he was for 2 decades from what he is now? If he was a guy who, for 15, 16, 17 years, didn't matter who was pitching, he was in the lineup.
Right.
Does that at some point get tough to sort of reconcile that that's not who he is anymore, and you need to treat him differently now than you did before?
I think you have to look at things. This isn't the first time I've had to go through this. We've had to do it around here lately, for the last few years. So I think you have to recognize things. You have to recognize, maybe it's not a 155 game a year player. And there's other players in our lineup that we've had to adjust that was different than when I got here. So, it's something that we think about all the time.
Last year you ran him out there almost every day. What's different this year?
Well, I had been doing it too last year. Last year he started off well and hit. He struggled the last couple months somewhat. And he struggled the first 2 months, but last year he was swinging the bat.
You said last week that you would plan on using him like you always have. Something's changed in the last few days?
I gave him yesterday off. He played 6 days in a row, and then today's been a tough matchup for him. So I chose to give him today. I can't tell you what I'm doing tomorrow. I can't tell you. I don't know yet. But as I said, production's important. It's important, and we got a lot of guys that are struggling right now, and I just tried to change it up a little bit.
Even though there are a lot of guys struggling, do you look at the production that you got from Mark and Alex last year and what you've gotten from them this year as maybe the biggest difference between your offense?
That's a big difference. Both those guys hit substantial amount of home runs and RBIs, but Head's gotten off to a slow start. Girardi's struggling now. Max, it's been a struggle. I look at the month of May. It's been a struggle for a lot of our guys, and we've actually probably had a better month than we did in April, but we pitched a lot better. But it's important that we get the bats going. I mean, it's hard to win 2-1 every night.
Gardner and McCann just match up as well.
Mm-hmm.
You mentioned it's hard to get the bats going, but in the month of May, CC Sabathia has an ERA under 1. When you look at that, what do you think that says about him and the way he has bounced back from a season ago?
Well, I think he's made a lot of adjustments in everything that he's done. I think his stuff has been really good, and I think CC, I've always said it about CC, and this guy loves to compete, and if there's a way that it can be done, he's going to find it, and that's what he's done.
Is there any element of surprise that he's been able to finally figure out that it's finally clicked for him?
Not really. You know, I said last year when he wore that knee brace too, I thought it helped the last month of the season. And I think he feels better. I don't think he worries about how he lands. He doesn't have pain in his knee like he did last year, and I think it's really helped him.
Joe, you haven't, the last couple of years, unless you've gotten a lights out starting pitching performance or gotten into their bullpen late, I mean, you haven't beaten Toronto otherwise. Is this just a bad matchup right now, the way these teams are constructed?
Yeah, there's been a lot of games, you know, that I feel that we've had a chance to win if we scored runs. We haven't scored a lot of runs against them, and I think that's been the biggest difference.
So is there something specific you've seen from Gardner during that dry spell?
It just seems like he's pulling off the ball for me. You know, he's not squaring the ball up. If he does, he hits it a lot of times, you know, foul down the left field line, but he's pulling off. So he's got to make some little adjustments, and we'll get him going.
Joe, what were your high expectations for Aaron Hicks, coming to the season?
You know, I thought it was a guy that could play 4 or 5 times a week, be really successful against left-handers, improve against right-handers. Against left-handers, he does not have the average that we thought he would have. I think he's hit the ball okay. I think that it's somewhat short of a sample size, so I don't make too much of it. I think his at-bats have been pretty good against left-handers. And a guy that could play anywhere in the outfield for us.
So you doing anything on Acme tonight?
Yeah, he's going to have surgery to repair his labrum. I think it's either going to be tomorrow or Friday.
Season.
Yeah.
Ready by next year?
Say that again.
Be ready by next season. Is that it?
Well, labrum for a pitcher, I know, is 12, 14 months. For a position player, I'm not sure exactly how long, but hopefully, if he's not ready, he's close to ready.
What does that mean for your first base situation?
Well, right now we're going with what we have. Will we have to maybe make an adjustment? Maybe.
Do you think Ref Snyder is versatile enough defensively to help you in a more longer term?
Well, right now it's second, third, right, or left is what we have. We have not included first base. Something that I'll kick around for a little bit, and maybe we'll get him some reps there and see how he looks.
Their starting pitching has been very good this year against everybody. Last year, I mean, do you feel like they pitched better against you than they did against other teams?
I don't know. I mean, they beat us last year is the bottom line. They outplayed us. They scored runs on us. But I think we pitched pretty well against these guys this year. We just haven't scored runs against them. And when we've had problems this year, that's been our problems usually.
Blyer got in the game last night. Any impressions of him making his debut?
Well, he got 2 ground balls pretty quick. Pretty neat. As long as he's been in the game, it was his first appearance, and I'm sure there were times where he thought about walking away when it hadn't happened. I mean, this was his first big league camp, when you think about that. So, 29 years old, that's pretty amazing. So, it was neat to see him in there.
So is keeping Teixeira healthier a little trickier now that you don't have necessarily standard backup first baseman?
Well, I don't know if it's trickier, but it's probably more important. Yeah, that sort of thing.
You want to give him enough time off, but
yeah,
you don't have the built-in
right
backup?
Yeah.